I'm Tiffany Joyner, and we are going to discuss the 5 stages of grief. First, I want you to take a trip down memory lane. Let's go back to when you were a child. As a child, everyone only wanted to have fun. Going to school, playing games, spending time with your friends and family. That was life. That's all life consisted of. But I want you to fast forward to adolescence or adulthood. Imagining one of those people whom you thought would be with you for the rest of your life take their very last breath right before your very own eyes. You will have emotions from that point on. Different emotions for different people. And that's why we're discussing the 5 stages of grief, because everyone is different. You may not experience them all, and you may not experience them in the same order, but you will have some kind of emotion. So we're going to talk about the history of the 5 stages of grief, the recognition of those stages, as well as how to cope with them if you yourself are going through it or someone else around you. So the history of it begins with Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, dated back to 1969 when she was credited for her book on death and dying. Now this started with Miss Kubler-Ross back in 1951 when she was volunteering to work at different hospitals, concentration camps right after the World War II, and watching soldiers paint butterflies on walls prior to their death and experiencing those dealing with the death afterwards. It did not end in Zurich, where she was born. She came to the United States. She pursued a license in psychiatry and, of course, working in community hospitals, doing more research. The sealing of the deal was with a 16-year-old girl dying of leukemia. There was an audience of people who came to see her and question her about how she felt dying of leukemia. All kinds of questions were asked. This young lady was very angry, of course depressed, and she in turn asked the audience questions about what was going on. She was more concerned about not being able to go to her prom, not being able to graduate, cross the stage, receive a diploma, being a beautiful bride with her dad, walking her down the aisle and giving her away. These were things that stood out to Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross as well. So she was discouraged and disturbed that there was nothing in the United States that was planned or implemented for those who were dying. And that's what sealed the deal for her. For Dr. Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, she pursued her dream, which was the greatest mystery in science, which is death, because of a Life magazine article that was wrote up on her after her book in 1969, because of all of the attention that she got. And that's how the 5 stages of grief were born and recognized to what it is today. Now we've talked about the history. Let's dig a little deeper, shall we? Recognizing those 5 stages of grief. Your first stage would be denial. It can't be true. This didn't happen. No, not my mom, not my dad, not my sister. They're going to live forever. You're not accepting what's going on around you. And denial can go on for quite a while. Your second stage would be anger. Everyone gets angry. How could this person leave me? Why did they do that to me? It is kind of selfish, but it happens. Not only would you be angry at the person, Oh, it's the doctor's fault. They didn't do what they were supposed to do. Or maybe God. God did it. Why is God punishing me? There is no God if he allowed this to happen. Or you could be angry within yourself. If I had done this, then they wouldn't have been dead, so it's my fault. It happens more than you know. But the third stage would be bargaining. Bargaining is your negotiation phase. If I could do this just to spend another day with this person, if I could do that, maybe I could have just a little bit more time. Everyone goes through a bargaining phase. You may not realize it, but at some point, we bargain. After bargaining, depression tends to set in. That's when there's intense sadness. You seclude yourself from everyone else. Isolation. You don't want to see anyone. You don't want to talk to anyone. Life is just meaningless at this point. After you tend to wake up a little bit, your last stage will be acceptance. It's your fifth stage of grief. You accept the reality that you have to move on without that person in your life. It may be a hard pill to swallow, but that's when you tend to put your pieces back together. You have to create relationships outside of that person, do things outside of that person. Now that we've looked at the history of the 5 stages of grief, we looked into the 5 stages of grief. Now it's time to take action. What should you do if you yourself are going through it or you see someone else? This is your coping phase. The first thing is you have to allow yourself to feel. Go through those emotions that you have to go through. You have to own up to it. Don't let anyone tell you how you should feel when you're grieving. That would be their way of grieving. You have to do it on your own terms. Secondly, don't suppress any feelings that you may have. You have to let it out. If not, you'll go back to that 4th stage of depression. So don't suppress it. Allow yourself to go through it. Your 3rd step would be express your feelings. It doesn't matter how you express them. Everyone is different. Keep that forefront. If it's talking about it, if it's crying, if it's screaming, if it's walking, whatever makes you feel better, you do it. That's expressing it. You can express creatively. If you like to draw, draw. If you like to paint, if you like to sing. Some people get in the shower and they blow. It's fine. Express it in a creative way. But definitely avoid negative behavior. That would be the 5th thing. You don't want to be around alcohol, prescription drugs, abusing them, or any other type of drugs. Always avoid that negative behavior because that'll put you in a bad place. Another good thing you can do is exercise. Not only is it good for you mentally, it's good for you physically. You feel better about yourself after exercising, and it's good for your health. Get up and walk, run, jog. It's okay. Exercise. You'll feel better all the way around. 7 would be plan ahead. Birthdays come up. Anniversaries come up. You never know how you're going to feel on those days. So have support around you to help you with those times. So be proactive. If your mom's birthday is coming up and you know your mom has passed, you know you're going to be feeling a little down because you're going to be thinking about past birthdays that you spent together or what you would be doing, something she loves. Have someone else around you to help you spend that time and make it through that day. And lastly, if none of those things work, you definitely need to seek professional help. Only a professional can diagnose you with severe depression or whatever the case may be. If your grief is ongoing and is severe, you would need someone with a degree to help you get through it. Now that we've talked about the history, we've talked about recognizing it, and we've talked about taking action. It's quite a bit to take in. But we all have been there. We all have had different emotions, and we all have had to have a support system. And if you haven't been there, bless your heart. You're going to experience those emotions at some point in your life. So I would leave you with this. After knowing what grief looks like, and it not necessarily has to be the loss of a loved one. It could be a divorce. It could be a pet that you've lost, or it could just be a separation. You will have some type of effect from that situation. So keep in mind of how you felt during that time, and those who have been around you to help you make it through. Be that shoulder to lean on. Be that listening ear for others. Be that support system that you will want others to be for you. Because we all have to help each other make it through. Have a good evening.